The short week ending with a new rally for corn and soybeans. Jerry Gidel is going to analyze today, right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So Jerry, how are you today? So we are kind of surprised with the markets in this short week.
Yeah, sometimes short weeks and long 3-day weekends can also be a little challenging because people sometimes like to be on the sidelines ahead of these things. But I think in this case, the uncertainties of the Black Sea and uh, and generally the ongoing kind of limited moisture in various parts of the world got people nervous about where things are going because I think the next 45 days, the last half of April and the first month, and during the month of May is going to be quite important how things change around the world.
Yes, and how do you see wheat not going along with corn and soybeans?
Well, I think to some extent, uh, the the Black Sea situation is quite interesting. The USDA reduced some of the uh, imports again out of Ukraine, but they increased Russia by 1 million. Uh, to some extent, the we really didn't see a lot of tendering going on this week. We did finally get something going from Egypt here yesterday. And they primarily bought European wheat, which is an indication of the issues in the Black Sea. And then the U.S. Is it definitely has not really got a lot of recent rain, I guess, unless you think the 2 foot of snow up in North Dakota is moisture, and it is. It's somewhat beneficial to their prospects for spring wheat, but that also means that they're not going to get all that much stuff planted for a while too. So you got to get it warm enough to get that snow out of there and get the fields and all that. And this is really the uh, by late April, you're really getting behind the eight ball on spring wheat planting. So that's something. But I think one of the interesting things that's out in front of us here is the fact that uh, last week we were some of the forecasting models had that snow that hit North Dakota hitting through the Wyoming, South Dakota, maybe parts of Nebraska area into Minnesota, and it turned out to be a lot further north. And that now there's a forecast out for potentially not this really coming week because we're going to still be cool and pretty significantly here in the Midwest, but as it warms up here in the week after that, basically after the 23rd, there's some prospects that there's going to be some good rains in the plains area, basically in that central to western areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, even up into Colorado, and that would be a significantly important rain if it came through. But it's also out in the forecast here, right near the end of the 6 to 10 day period, and we'll see if it actually develops. But I think that had something to do with today's lack of follow through, or at least we did have, and and I think the one thing too it added to it, we got to throw in our weekly exports, which were again pretty lackluster for wheat.
Yes, I just read a report saying that basically all the exports and all the imports from the United States have raised their price.
Oh yeah, well, U.S. prices in the world markets have definitely never been too competitive in this thing. Partly because if you looked at the indexes of the dollar index and our interestingly enough, in the world of what's going on right now, the everything wants to be in dollars because of the fact that it's rubles aren't really worth too much, and European values and issues are under the gun. So in reality, not that I know exactly what 100 index, excuse me, the dollar index being at 100 is worth comparison, but it was last year ago, it was 90 in the low 90s. And in general, it's been firm. So that's taken some of the U.S. exports out of the area. And the one thing that's in the world situation that's really, I think, can be quite interesting is how aggressive and how the ability of India to be an exporter into the world markets here to trying to fill some of these voids from both Ukraine and other places here, because they've got quite a little wheat in storage and they've got a good crop coming. And so that's the one thing. The only snag that's in the world of India weather, India wheat, I should say, is the fact that they have a thing called carnal bunt, and it's something that impacts the seed a little bit, and it is something that people get quite concerned about. I think it has something that if you even if you import it and feed it or use it, it's an interesting factor that can impact your wheat. Actually, I think it's one thing. It has this is a, I'm maybe stepping on my bounds here, but I think it has a different smell when you actually make the flour, which is not what people want to have when you're having baked goods. But that's I can't guarantee that's exactly what's going on with kernel bunt. But the other feature is that corn and soybeans this week's firmed right up into the close.
Yes, and I guess that the La Nina is playing out in the markets, right?
Oh yes, La Nina is still in the back. It's in the background all the time, and every once in a while it gets a lot more publicity about things. And that the U.S. Climate Prediction Center, which is one version of the National Weather Service, came out with some information today that they felt that La Nina could stay around until August, and that, which is interesting. I think that means that the current graphics on that would make it above zero. In right now, La Nina is really a phenomena from minus 0.5 to 1 to minus 1.5. And we've been running a long time in this around minus 1 on their index at this point. I think it's involving the sea surface temperatures and also pressure on the trade winds and things like that. But definitely, it's a background situation here. You know, to some extent, right now, you say, well, why? Usually La Nina means we're dry. Well, we're dry where it normally is, you know, the plains, things like that. It's been maybe a little higher moisture here in the Eastern Corn Belt. But so in reality, the one twist of the whole thing is that this thing, if it for some reason or other the dry trend stayed through first of July or mid-July, that would already significantly damage the wheat crop in the U.S. And if it seemed to move further east, then it would be just right to be involving the corn pollination and soybeans and things like that. So, you know, La Nina is a very interesting weather form pattern. And if that cool weather out there along the equator continues, it's something to keep a close eye on.
And what are you expecting for next week? It will be a full week.
Well, I think as we move along here, we're going to be watching closely. Uh, you know, that weather pattern I just mentioned, if that fades like it did last time and not impact, uh, in essence, providing moisture to the winter wheat areas, and maybe it continues to be wetter in the Missouri and eastern part of the U.S., that's going to be a big factor for wheat. On the other side of the thing is how does that same weather impact of La Nina also has a significant impact on Mato Grosso, and it's definitely dried things up down there. They had pretty wet January and February, but March has started to slip, and now the activity in rain activity has definitely slipped below normal down there in Mato Grosso. And this year we're a little ahead, we're further ahead on our crop development down there than we were last year. And that, but the one thing that can happen, the monsoonal rains that are important for Mato Grosso's corn crop, if they start slipping away in that, they can have a big impact on the late season crop sizes they had last year. Soybeans is going to be interesting. The mindset here after the higher than expected planning numbers that we got, and well, we had some tightening of the carryover stocks by 25 million on our last week's April report, but I think the demand situation there on U.S. soybeans. In general, I think that we had another purchase today from the Chinese. It's been there for a while. We're getting 2 or 3 a week. We didn't get much this week. We had one today, and that. But I think the issues of their low pork prices over there has kept them on the sidelines. And if, unfortunately, here with their COVID issues, that does take away some of the short-term meat demand, and that. And at this point, I even from the point of view of their style of COVID control is the complete shutdown. So you can't even get food delivery to your house from your restaurant. So I don't know. It's gonna right now, at least. I kind of feel like that the soybean situation still has some volatility in it, and we'll be watching that part of it here, because really at this point, this coming week, we probably were going to see some U.S. soybeans and corn being planted. We had a little bit more than last week's 2% planted this week. Maybe we're going to be, let's just say 4 or 5%, and maybe we're going to maybe double that up to 10 or 12% next week. The key feature is the temperatures for planting, the soil temperatures. Most farmers don't like to put seeds in the ground if it's 50 degrees or less, and because of the fact that if you get seeds in the ground and they don't warm up and germinate and that, then all of a sudden they, after 10, 12 days, and sometimes even you start losing your populations you put in, and you start the seeds that are there don't actually germinate and produce a plant. So that's one of the features why we need warmer weather and less rain in the Eastern Corn Belt. We'll see if that turns out to be the case late April and early May.
All right. Thank you very much, Jerry.
You bet. It's always good to talk, Lewis. And let's have a 3-day weekend here. We'll see what we come up with next week. But interesting world if we get price activity above $8 here in the spot May and above the magic of $17. I think that could create some more buying from some of our friends in the investment world, the funds and things like that. So things are going to get quite volatile potentially over the next 45 days.
Indeed. Thank you.
Take care.